Thank you, Mr. Belton. Next, we'll have Chairman David Gantt of the Buncombe County Commission.
On behalf of the Buncombe County Commission, we have Commissioner Peterson and Commissioner Jones here today, Vice Chair Stanley and Commissioner Bateson, their reps. I want to go back in time a little bit. I want to go back about 55 years real quickly and tell you a quick story about a hero that you may not know about. His name's Albert Joyner. Albert lives in Old Fort, North Carolina, in McDowell County. He's an assistant nurse, been working at the VA for years and years. Something he did, I think, deserves a quick mention here in the little time I have. Very little time I have. Albert got up on August 23rd, 1955, so we're going back 55 years from now. And the kids of McDowell County wanted to enroll in a white school. A couple years before that, they had said, your black school in Old Fort is going to shut down, and they protested. And 5 years before Brown versus Board of Education, these young black kids got out and said, we want to have an equal education. 5 years before Brown versus Board of Education. Now, after that, they demolished the school was the response to that. They didn't give up. A couple years later, they had a plan. They would actually go to the school in Old Fort instead of going to the consolidated Negro school in Marion, about 15 miles away. And they would ask to be registered there. This was before Brown versus Board of Education. They were flatly denied. They had another plan. We will physically take our kids and say, we want an equal education. And they did that. August 23rd, 1955, Albert Joyner got up and started getting ready to go to work. He was putting his clothes on, he saw these kids out there. But instead of having clergy and parents that were going to accompany them to the school, they were by themselves. But they weren't quite by themselves. There were 400 mainly white people that wanted to rip them apart. They had brass knuckles, they had pistols, they had shotguns. And Albert Joyner looked out his window and said, I'm not going to let those kids go to school on their own. I'm going to go with them. Even though he didn't have any kids in the school. He didn't have any interest other than he said, God led me to do that. So he changed clothes, he put on his best suit, he got up, he held those kids' hands, walked through that crowd of 400 angry people, and said, I want these kids to go to this school. Now, they didn't get in. And you know the thanks Albert Joyner got for taking that stand was the man punched him so hard that he landed in the fountain in Old Fort. And Albert Joyner got a warrant against him that thankfully was dropped. Albert Joyner was the subject. Do you remember Look? Who remembers Look magazine? It was kind of for young people. Look magazine was before People and Us. It was kind of the pictorial. They had a report on this. And most importantly, what I wanted to show you, this is Albert Joyner in Look magazine, a nationally recognized magazine. And look at this man up here. He doesn't look real happy. Looks like he's got a billy club he might want to use on somebody. But look at Albert Joyner in his suit, in his best clothes, and the kids he was trying to get enrolled in a good school. Now, it's not quite the end of the story. The man that punched him ended up going to the VA later, and the nurse assistant was Albert Joyner. Here's what Albert said. Quote, I didn't forget, and I know he didn't forget. But you don't try to get even with nobody. You do what's right, and you go on. And he took care of that man. They never talked about it, and treated that man just like he was his brother. Now, when he was asked about how did you feel going into 400 angry people with kids you didn't even know, he said, quote, "It makes no difference what people think about you. You've got to have a getting up spirit," end quote. Now, Mr. Joyner was asked to come here. We were going to send a limousine down, bring him up, let him stay in the Grove Park Inn, but Mr. Joyner's in the hospital today. But I want you, if you would, if you'd indulge me, I want you to give a hand for Albert Joyner, because the only things he got was a punch in the face and a warrant against him, and I want you to thank him, and I'm going to stop. Thank you very much.